As much as I have a few issues about Jak 2, I've got to admit that it was a major success at the end of the day, turning away from a kid-friendly 3D platformer that was popular in the 1990s and early 2000s to an open world with some brutal violence in the style of a Grand Theft Auto game. It was a good change of direction from a business point of view, and all eyes were on Naughty Dog once again to put the cherry on top of the cake as they complete the trilogy with Jak 3. I remember playing this game with a mate back in the day, but that was only one time, and the only thing I could remember was playing the tutorial and exploring the city of Spargus. And then last year I managed to play through the game and I remember really enjoying it. And now comes the time where the glasses come off and to replay Jak 3, only this time around to review this game and see where it stands. Oh, sorry. So, with the headline not the same as it was, my experience with Jak 3 this time around felt different and somewhat strange. So, let's dive in, metalhead first, and find out. That was the dumbest pun I've ever did. Jak 3 begins after the aftermath of Jak 2. I don't usually spoil the third acts of story plots in video games, but as you would expect, and just for the sake of explanation, spoilers. Or so we thought. As it turns out, some of the stronger metalheads survived, attacking Haven City, and all the blame is going towards Jak, even though he was the one who saved the city. During the Battle of Haven City, a big blast hits the giant tower, crumbles, and gets destroyed as it smashes down to the ground. I would say it's an iconic scene right here, as back in Jak 2, the tower was a massive structure that lets you see everything, but now it's getting blown up into smithereens. As a result, Count Wiener—
It's Vega!
Yeah, whatever— banishes Jak to the Wastelands as a punishment. Ashelin, Daxter, and Pecker— wow, I forgot to mention Pecker in Jak 2. He's a sarcastic bird who delivers one-liners like Daxter. That's all you need to know. They all watch as Jak gets left behind, but Daxter and Pecker escapes the ship and joins up with Jak. All three wander aimlessly around the desert until they all collapse. They're found by Deimos, who is the king of Spargus City, and takes them to Spargus. Jak and Daxter prove their worth in the city, and while doing so, they learn a bizarre dark matter slowly but surely making its way down to Earth. And it's up to Jak once again to defeat the evil forces. The story is a total mess. I'm sorry, it is an okay story, don't get me wrong, but throughout the beginning portions or so, there's not much of a long-term goal to do in Jak 3, almost feeling like filler. The game shows us an area where Jak and Daxter learns to survive and eventually make their journey back to Haven City to earn their redemption, I guess? Well, that's what I got out of it, but the game doesn't really tell me that. It's weird that at one mission, Jak says to Ashelin that he doesn't care about Haven City as he has new friends, but then immediately in the next mission, he's on his way back to the city. A massive 180 turn on Jak's part. I also got clickbaited thinking that Count Steamer—
It's Vega!
Yeah, whatever— was the main villain just by watching the intro, but it turns out he's not? Even though he taunts Jak throughout the game and turns out to be responsible for the destruction of Haven City, I don't even know anymore. I can also understand that Naughty Dog was trying to bring story plot lines from Jak 1 to tie things up, but everything just felt rushed without thinking through it. And also, not many people get enough screen time, like Kira for example, who's supposed to be the love interest for Jak, by the way. They also do this storyline where Jak never had a father, and Deimos always wanted a son of his own, and seems proud whenever Jak completes an obstacle. And yeah, you probably know where I'm going with this. It's obvious from the get-go that Deimos is the father of Jak, and I do wish they could have hid it more and not make it obvious. Even a dum-dum like myself can figure that one out. What? I have a feeling that during a meeting, Naughty Dog was brainstorming ideas and writing them down on a whiteboard. But instead of taking the ones that make sense, they just accepted every single idea, no matter how many they were, and placed it in the game. not just for the story, but even for the gameplay as well. And I'm not the biggest fan when the game breaks the fourth wall in one stage. I like it sometimes in video games, but this is probably one of the more cringy and lazy ones in my opinion.
Yeah, we thought we'd hang out, catch some rays.
This isn't a game.
But hey, at least the characters are good. We still get to see Torn, Ashlyn, Samos, and Kira, but we also see new ones like Damas as mentioned earlier, Cleaver, a warrior who serves Damas. He also has an Aussie accent, I'd like to believe. Seam, she's the leader of the Precursor Monks and has a massive knowledge on its technology. And finally, Count Boomer.
It's Vega!
Okay, fine, I'll stop that joke. The graphics are still great as always, perhaps even better than Jak 2. And one would probably argue that Jak 3 is the best good looking game on the PlayStation 2, and I can totally see that. Animations are on point and the game runs very smoothly. So if the Precursor Legacy was aimed at platforming, Jak 2 was aimed at using your weapons, Jak 3 is focused towards driving around the wasteland, almost feeling like you're a part of Mad Max's universe. Driving into sands is something you'll be doing throughout the game when heading towards the next mission, and I'll be frank, the controls for the vehicles are not good and definitely have not held up to today's standards. It can be frustrating to move your car around the desert, and it can make missions that seem simple but annoying to go through. No matter what I do when it comes to turning, I always lose control and have to steer myself back in the right direction. And what makes the driving worse is having all the outcast drivers interfering while you're heading to the next mission or completing an objective under a time limit. It makes things even more irritating as before. Yeah, you can shoot the vehicles right back, but they'll always respawn all the time, so it'll be pointless anyway. And as for the wasteland itself, I don't want to say it's empty because it's a desert, but really, other than driving from A to B and completing side objectives here and there, there's really not a whole lot to do. I suppose that's why you see a lot of outcasts to keep things engaging. But I do try to take the time to stop and check out the environment of the wasteland cause it does look appealing to the eye. You also get to explore Haven City after its destruction, and even if it is more linear, it's really cool that you can explore bits and pieces of the city, all wrecked and visually torn up, filled with metalheads, KG robots, and broken streets. The Precursor Orbs are back for collectibles, and I'd say it's even more fun to collect them with how well hidden they can be. There's a lot more to find, and finding them can be used for purchasing secrets. I was gonna talk about the platforming, the soundtrack, and the controls, but really, it's all the same comments as I've mentioned before in my Jak 1 and 2 review. The platforming is good as ever, the soundtrack sounds nice, and the controls are super responsive and tight. It's like if I failed to complete a jump, I definitely know for a fact that it was my fault and not the game itself. Oh shit, no. Huh. For some strange reason, I don't think that was supposed to happen. The weapons make their comeback, and it's the same 4 guns as Jak 2, but this time around you can unlock mods for your gun depending on how far you are into the game. You can unlock mods like the Wave Concussor, which releases a shockwave to anyone surrounding Jak, the Arc Wielder that shoots a single laser to enemies, and the Beam Reflector that the ammunition bounces off walls, to name a few. It's good that there's new mods to some extent, we'll get back to that discussion in a minute, and without the mods, the weapons would have been repetitive since they're the same as Jak 2. Now, as far as the difficulty is concerned, I can thankfully say that Jak 3 is a lot more forgiving this time around. There's a lot more checkpoints and it really does help out. So now I don't have to freak out when I accidentally die, it'll take me right back to the beginning, resulting in spending extra time getting back to where I was. If I do get stuck, it's mostly due to vehicle levels or this painful fucking section. For a 30-second segment, it literally took me ages to a point where I had to turn off my console and rethink my life decisions. In addition to Dark Jak, you can also transform into Light Jak as well, and Light Jak gives you more abilities like turning invisible, slowing down time, and regenerating health, which sounds useful. But again, like Jak 2, I rarely use these abilities, and I will probably argue that some of his abilities are pointless. Like turning invisible, for example. After obtaining it, I only use it 4 to 5 times in a single level, and afterwards, I never use it again. And that's the same with slowing down time. I never once used that fucking shield. And even on a few occasions later on, I completely forgot they were included in the game unless the game tells me to use it. You see what I mean where Naughty Dog was adding too many ideas to Jak 3? It could be hard to follow at times. But a big problem I have with Jak 3, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, but throughout the entire game from start to finish, you can feel OP AF. There's a saying in video games, and I'm sure you know where I'm going with this since other YouTubers have said this before, and the word of the day is... strategic dominance! Yeah, thank you very much. For those who are unfamiliar with that term, strategic dominance is a video game slang for using a certain technique within the game itself. And if it keeps working, then 9 times out of 10, you'll keep using that and nothing else. Kind of like using a very powerful shotgun in a Call of Duty multiplayer game. You may have seen my spin jump attack while shooting my blaster. Despite what you think of it, this technique really helped me out in tough situations, and combining this technique while using the beam reflexor mod, Jak 3 just became way too easy. I tried to use different weapons and mods this time around, I really did, but nothing beats that method to continue on with the story. I guess in a way, it's fine if you feel overpowered, and I don't mind it at times feeling overpowered so I can mow through enemies like a soft butter spreading on a warm, thick toast. That sounds pretty nice. But here's the problem I have with this game. I want to earn the ability to feel overpowered, not just giving it to me on a platter. The best way to describe it is if I mention a video game I've been playing in my spare time called Maneater. When you start off as a baby shark, sorry, it's a force of habit, and you take on an alligator, you'll get absolutely smashed. But when you slowly level up and get new abilities, you'll become stronger. So when you take on an alligator at a higher level, you'll easily beat that alligator without breaking a sweat, making you feel OP. Not because you were given that feeling straight away, it was because you earned it through hard work and determination. In Jak 3, you're given so many things, but I never felt like I earned them or even needed them at all. It's like ordering a main course from a restaurant. Once you've got your main course and you're just about done with it, the waiter all of a sudden gives you another one. And another one. And another one. And you have to tell the waiter, please, I don't want any more main courses. I'm happy with just the one, but the waiter's not going to give a shit. He's going to give you more main courses. He's not going to stop because that's what you came here for, right? That's the reason why you came here to the restaurant is to get the fucking main course. And with all these new weapon mods and even the light and dark Jak abilities, it's making me want to bring up the saying, less is more. Just keep it simple that it doesn't become too much for the player to remember all these abilities because, give or take, you will not be using all of them throughout the entire game. And I think that's all I needed to say about... Oh, wait a second, I completely forgot about something. You can also play as Daxter. Yeah, totally missed the ball on that one. Other than the one time you do play as him back in Jak 2, you can play as Daxter in multiple sections, whenever it's platforming or a minigame. I'm not a fan of Daxter's gameplay. I think they slow the gameplay down for me. It's pretty much how I feel about Clank's gameplay in the Ratchet & Clank original trilogy. And that was Jak 3. Before playing Jak 3, I was thinking that I would like this game because of my experience with it back in the day, but as it turns out, this is probably my least favorite game in the trilogy. I'm not saying it's a bad game, there's still so much cool things within Jak 3, like the platforming, the tight controls, and the graphics, but there is just way too much stuff in this game to a point where I think some of them are extremely unnecessary. Vehicles do not control good, and the story had me puzzled in some cases and left me with questions to try and wrap my head around. The third game in any trilogy is supposed to tie everything together into one package and to create the best experience possible. And in some cases, I can see that, but this is just my opinion, I did not think it lived up to my expectations. So with that said, I'll be giving Jak 3 a score of 6 out of 10. And and this is a healthy reminder that 6 out of 10s are still a good score for a video game. Seriously, I do not want to hear any whining in the comment section, fellas. So now that the Jak and Daxter trilogy is all done and dusted, here is my final thoughts. Do I recommend playing through the trilogy? Absolutely. As a matter of fact, each game is good in its own unique way. The Precursor Legacy has some great level designs, Jak 2 has a good narrative with nice characters, and Jak 3 has the best graphics in the trilogy. In my personal opinion, the Precursor Legacy is probably my favourite game to play in the trilogy, mainly because I love some good old 3D platforming, but that's not a knock against Jak 2 and 3. All three of them are good, so try them out and form your own opinion about what you like and dislike in each of them. And to end the discussion off, this trilogy absolutely deserves a remake. Will we eventually get it? We'll just have to wait and see. But anyways, that's gonna wrap up this review. I thank you all so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, then make sure to leave a like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. You can follow me on Instagram, the link will be down in the description box below, and as always, take care, have a great day, and I will catch you all next time. Next time!